Have you ever thought that you could be surrounded by brilliant solutions and not even realize it? Most people ignore the unknown utilities that exist in simple everyday things and waste time, money, and patience for nothing. It sounds crazy, but it's not. The secret to solving many of life's problems is right there, in the rearview mirror of the car, on the bottle of soda, even on the airplane window. While some people live on autopilot, others are aware of the details that make all the difference. And those who see these secrets save time, avoid stress, and still impress. Want to see how? Sometimes, all that stands between someone and a moment of joy is a stubborn bottle cap. And that's where the unknown uses that live right under our noses come in. Imagine you're at a gathering of friends, with a cold bottle in your hand and no bottle opener nearby. Many people panic, others give up. But the wise know that all you need is a firm edge, like the corner of a ladder, a sturdy countertop, or even a flat rock, and a good grip on your wrist. Yes, it's almost like a magic trick, but it's pure technique based on the physics of leverage. Now, pay attention to the movement. Hold the bottleneck firmly, position the cap against the edge, and give a strong blow with your hand from the bottom up. Of course, be careful and delicate, because the goal is to open the bottle, not to hurt your hand. This kind of trick becomes a lifesaver in unexpected situations. Camping, barbecues, the beach. Did you see how knowing about these unknown uses changes the game? And there are people who still think that practical knowledge is something out of this world. They don't even know that all they need to do is pay attention to what is within their reach. And do you know what's most interesting? This type of skill seems small, but it reveals a trained eye for simple and effective solutions. Those who learn to open a bottle without a bottle opener tend to be the same type of people who find a way out of everything, even life's difficulties. After all, when you see value in small discoveries, you begin to realize that there are many other unknown uses hidden in the most common objects, like the rearview mirror of your car, for example. You know that moment when you're driving at night and it seems like the car behind you wants to blind you with its high beams? Well, most people don't even realize that their rearview mirror has a lever for this. It's one of those unknown utilities that even experienced drivers don't notice. By activating this small lever at the bottom of the mirror, you change the angle of the glass and soften the reflection of the light, avoiding that discomfort in your eyes. It's simple, discreet, and effective, almost like urban magic inside your own car. Few people realize it, but driving at night requires much more than good vision. It requires attention, visual comfort, and, of course, fewer distractions. When your rearview mirror is properly adjusted, you avoid that eye fatigue caused by constant glare. This makes a big difference, especially on long trips or when you're on a highway with a lot of traffic. And no, it's not a whim, it's about taking care of your own safety. Mastering these small settings transforms the experience behind the wheel. It's like discovering a secret button that improves everything. And if there's one detail that proves how we ignore unknown uses, this is a prime example. Because it's there, all the time, right in front of you. Just like the plastic film on soda bottle caps, which also seems unimportant, until we understand why it exists. That thin film that covers the inside of the cap of a soda bottle? Well, it's not there for nothing. It's one of those unknown uses that many people ignore, and yet it's responsible for keeping the drink's gas intact. You know when you open the bottle and hear that satisfying pshhh? Thank that film. Without it, the gas would escape little by little, even with the cap closed. In other words, the experience of that first cold, bubbly sip would lose all its charm. In technical terms, this film creates an internal seal, preventing carbon dioxide, the famous gas, from escaping through the small cracks that may exist in the cap. It's meticulous work, but it has a direct impact on the flavor and sensation. The next time you open a bottle, take a closer look. Noticing these small details changes the way we consume the world. In fact, this applies to everything. Observing what seems invisible is the key to uncovering unknown uses hidden in the simplest everyday objects. It's funny to think that a little piece of plastic has so much power, right? And it raises an interesting question. What else are you using every day without knowing how it works or what it's for? A good example of this might be right there on your car's dashboard, that discrete arrow next to the fuel gauge. How many times have you stopped at a gas station and tried to remember which side the fuel tank is on? This happens to more people than you might think. And the strangest thing is that this doubt can be solved in seconds. Just look at the dashboard. That little arrow next to the fuel pump icon is not just decorative. It is one of the most practical unknown utilities there is. It shows exactly which side the gas cap is on. It's that simple. And there are still people who think they need to get out of the car to check it. It's such a small detail that even the most experienced drivers overlook it. But when people find out, they laugh a little, saying, "How did I never notice that before?" And it is precisely this type of discovery that changes the way we relate to things. Knowing that your car gives you this hint avoids unnecessary maneuvers, makes refueling easier, and even gives the impression that you are an expert at driving. Who would have imagined that a simple turn signal could save time and even prevent another car from cutting you off at the gas station? And do you know what's most interesting? These discoveries activate an observer mindset, the kind of person who sees the fine print of the world. Because when you start to see meaning in unfamiliar usages, you start to notice even the dimples on a golf ball, and trust me, there's a lot more science behind it than meets the eye. At first glance, the dimples on a golf ball seem like pure style. But in reality, they are the result of advanced engineering. These small indentations were developed to control the flow of air around the ball during flight, reducing drag and increasing the distance traveled. That's right, without the dimples, the ball would fly much lower. It is another of those unknown utilities that hide a huge amount of knowledge behind something that seems silly. Science, in this case, literally flies low. When the ball is hit, the air moves around it. If it were completely smooth, it would create turbulence behind the ball that would pull it down, an invisible brake. The dimples create a more stable layer of air, reducing this effect and allowing the ball to go further. A practical example of this is in sports in general. Often, the design of the equipment has more impact on performance than the force applied to it itself. Knowing this changes everything. What seems like a detail is, in fact, pure strategy. And when you start to understand how these details work, you start to see the world in a different light. Have you ever wondered why airplane windows have that barely noticeable hole? It may seem like an aesthetic quirk, but don't be fooled. It's just one of the unknown utilities that hold valuable secrets about safety and comfort at high altitudes. Many people have looked at the small hole in an airplane window and thought, that shouldn't be covered, right? But don't worry, this hole has a crucial function, and it's one of the most important unknown uses when it comes to air safety. It serves to balance the pressure between the window panels, which are made up of layers. Believe it or not, this small hole helps keep the air inside the cabin stable and prevents the inner glass from fogging up. In other words, it's the invisible hero of the heights. Just imagine, outside, the atmospheric pressure is extremely low. Inside, it needs to be comfortable for you to breathe normally. The hole allows the pressure difference to be supported by the outer layer of the glass, keeping the internal structure safe and transparent. Yes, because without it, the inner glass would fog up and you would lose all view from above, in addition to compromising the efficiency of the system. It's the kind of solution that goes unnoticed, but without which the flight wouldn't be the same. It's funny how the biggest secrets sometimes fit into a tiny dot of nothing, isn't it? And the truth is that the more we learn about these unknown uses, the more we want to investigate everything. After all, there are inventions that were born by chance, like ice cream spoons. Yes, they also have a curious story behind them, and, of course, a value much greater than you imagine. Few people know, but ice cream spoons, those small, colorful, and almost disposable ones, were born from a brilliant improvisation. Back in the early 20th century, an ice cream vendor found himself in a difficult situation. He ran out of cups, the line was huge, and he needed to act quickly. Without thinking much, he started offering ice cream on thin pieces of wood, which would later become the first spoons. This is one of the unknown uses that emerged from pure improvisation and ended up becoming a standard all over the world. A simple, direct, and brilliant solution. This type of story shows how scarcity can activate our most creative side. What was a problem, the lack of cups, became an opportunity to innovate. And look, it's no different from life. When we face challenges with an open mind, we find unexpected solutions. Many inventions were born like this, out of nowhere, under pressure. Like the Post-it, which was created by accident when someone tried to make super strong glue and failed. But failed with style. Or like the little spoon, which still delivers that ice-cold ice cream with efficiency and charm. Have you noticed how these unknown utilities are everywhere? Sometimes on the window of an airplane, sometimes on the handle of a rearview mirror, and sometimes when you're eating ice cream. The question is, are you paying attention? Because if you start looking like this, you'll realize that even the most mundane objects carry hidden stories, and now it's time to reveal that once and for all. So, after all this, are you still going to look at things the same way? The greatest insights are in the details that almost no one notices. Unknown utilities prove that the secret lies in the small discoveries, those that make life easier without us noticing. Now tell me, how many solutions are going unnoticed in your daily life? It's time to look at the world with different eyes. If you like this content, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because there's much more coming and you won't want to miss it.